the expert trade panel prop firm Drawdown Limiter Pro, which is offered for various platforms on the TradingFinder website. From this section, you can download the expert file for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 platforms and run it on the chart. Traders can also read this page to learn about the functionality and operation of the expert. From the Navigator section, we run the expert file. We go to the Common tab, and in this tab we enable the options Allow DLL imports, Allow import of external experts, and finally allow live trading. We go to the Inputs tab, and in this tab you need to enter your personal license. To obtain your personal license, go to the TradingFinder website and through the support section, get your dedicated license for this expert and enter it here. Be sure to pay attention to this point. The license you receive is only valid for that specific device and cannot be used on another device. When you run the expert on the chart, a trade management and capital management panel will appear on the chart. The prop firm Drawdown Limiter Pro Trade Panel Expert is an advanced, feature-rich, and exceptionally practical tool that allows prop account traders, as well as forex and crypto traders, to easily carry out and execute their trades, set pending orders, determine their trade entry volume, enter trades based on risk-to-reward ratios, and ultimately manage their trades. By using this expert, traders can easily protect their capital and have more professional trades in the market. With a simple click on the panel, we can easily move the panel around on the chart. And at the top section of the panel, there are three options available to us. By clicking on the first option, a message is displayed. If we click on yes, the expert will close and be removed from the chart, and if we click on no, the expert will remain on the chart. The next option is related to minimizing. By clicking on this option, only the remaining time until the current candle closes will be displayed, and we can easily move the panel around. By clicking again, the expert panel will return to its default state. The next section is related to the expert settings, where various options are available to us. The first option is a confirmation for entering a trade, which is enabled by default here. If I want to enter a buy trade, for example, I can change the specific restrictions or parameters in this section. If I enter a trade in this section, I can easily execute my trade with just one click. If I disable this option and want to enter a trade, a warning message will be displayed for me, which we can use as a confirmation from this section. It displays the type of position, trading symbol, entry price level, and finally the trade entry volume for us. By clicking on the yes option, the trade will be executed for us, and by clicking on the no option, the trade will not be executed. In the next section, we can enable or disable the take profit setting. When we execute a trade, the take profit is calculated and displayed for us. If we don't want a take profit to be set for our trade and want to give our trades more room for growth and profit, we can disable this option and enter a trade without a take profit being set for us. In the next option, we can enable or disable the placement of a stop loss, which by default is set for our trades. And if I disable this option and enter a trade, no stop loss will be set for me. And because my take profit is also calculated and set based on the stop loss, if I don't have a stop loss, the take profit won't be specified for me either. The next option is related to the virtual TPSL, which is enabled by default. If we disable this option, the stop loss and take profit will switch from the virtual expert mode to the server mode. And if this option is enabled, they will be set in the virtual expert mode. The next option concerns the status of the partial close option at the entry price level of the trade. By default, the partial close feature option is currently available to us, and if I simply disable this option, the partial close option will not be displayed for us. And finally, the last option relates to when we have executed a trade on the chart and then, in this particular context, place the expert on the chart afterward. In order to manage the trade using the expert, we need to click on this section to transfer the trade to the expert server section, and here we can manage our trades easily, including take profit, stop loss, and other settings. At the bottom section of the panel, you can see the remaining time until the current candle closes. Just below that, you will find the current status of both buy and sell trades, where with just a single click, you can very easily and quickly enter into either a buy or a sell trade, making the process straightforward and efficient for you. When we execute a trade, 3 levels are displayed for us. The first level is the entry price level, which is shown in purple. On the left side, you can see the position type, the entry price level, the trade volume, and finally the amount of profit or loss in this section. The red level represents the stop loss level, where you can see the stop loss price level and ultimately the amount of loss you would incur if the price reaches the stop loss level. And at the green level you can see the take profit, which shows the take profit price level, the exit volume from the trade if the price reaches the take profit level, and finally your profit from the price reaching the take profit level is displayed in this section. By clicking on the cross icon on each level, we can close those levels. At the entry price level, 3 options are available to us. The first option is for closing the trade, and by clicking on this option, the trades will be closed. The next option is related to break-even, and if we want to make our trades risk-free, we can use this option. If the trade is in profit and we click on this option, the stop loss level will automatically move to the entry point, making our trades risk-free. And the next option is for partial close, which closes 50% of the trade volume for us in a stepwise manner. Here we have a trade size of 1/10 of a lot, and by clicking on this option, you can see that half of our position is closed and the trade size becomes 5/100ths of a lot. Clicking again reduces it to 2/100ths of a lot. After that, it becomes 1/100th of a lot. And finally, if there is no volume left to close, it will close the trade for us. The next section is about placing buy and sell pending orders. By clicking on each one, you activate the pending order mode, and then, if you make the first click on the screen, you set the entry point. The second click sets the stop loss, and with the third click, you can specify the take profit. After that, here you have an option to cancel the pending order and an option to confirm it. Once you confirm the pending order, the expert advisor automatically detects whether it is a limit or stop pending order and then specifies it accordingly as needed. If the entry point is above the current price, it is identified as a stop order, and if it is below the price, it is recognized as a limit order. The same applies for sell pending orders as well. If the pending order is set below the price, I specify the stop loss and take profit levels, and then I click the confirm option. The expert advisor automatically detects whether the pending order is a limit or stop type and places it accordingly. Here we can see the pending orders. In the next section, we can specify the trade entry volume, which is set to 1/10 of a lot by default. By clicking on the top right, we can decrease the trade entry volume by 1/100th increments, and by clicking on the top left option, we can increase the trade volume by 1/100th increments. By clicking on the bottom right option, we can decrease the trade volume by 1/10th increments, with the minimum volume we can set for a trade being 1/100th of a lot. By clicking on the bottom left option, we can increase the trade volume by 1/10th increments. I will explain the bottom option later on. In the lower section, we can specify the risk amount, which can be selected from three options here: dollars, balance percentage, and points. By default, it is set to dollars, and the amount of $100 is set as the default here. For example, here I enter a buy trade, and based on my trade entry volume, which is 0.1 lot in this case, and the amount of $100, it identifies and sets the stop loss distance from the entry point for me. As you can see, the amount of $100 has been set as my stop loss. If I set it to the percentage of balance mode, for example, I enter 1% of the balance and enter a trade, you can see that here it calculates 1% of the balance for me and sets the stop loss accordingly. The next option is related to points, and by selecting this mode, we can specify the stop loss amount in points. For example, in this case, I have set the amount to exactly 1,000 points. I select 5,000 and enter a buy trade, and you can see right here in this section that based on the trade volume as well as the number of points we've set, it automatically calculates our potential dollar loss and then displays it for us here on the screen, making it easy to understand. In this section, we can specify the number of points. For example, I set my stop loss at 5,500 points, and the expert advisor automatically calculates my trade entry volume based on the amount I've set here and displays it for me. Here we can see that if we want our stop loss to be $1,000 and our stop loss distance is 5,500, the trade entry volume is identified for us as 1.82 lots. This is specified for us here, and we can enter the trade with a stop loss amount of $1,000. In the lower section, we can specify the reward amount, which by default is set to 2, meaning a 1-to-2 risk-reward ratio is set for us. If our loss is $1,000, $2,000 will be set as the take profit, which we can increase or decrease as needed. For example, I enter the number 5, and it identifies and sets a $5,000 reward or a 1-to-5 risk-reward ratio for me. The next option is for setting multiple take profit levels, which allows me to specify several take profits for my trade by enabling this section. For instance, in the upper section, we can see the take profit numbers, which are specifically displayed for us based on TP1, TP2, TP3, and so on. For example, the next section is based on the percentage of exit from the trade at each take profit level, which by default is set to 20% at each take profit level. The next section relates to points, where we can enter the number of points so that the take profit level is set for us at a certain number of points. Or, based on dollars, we can enter in this section how many dollars we want our take profit to be considered as profit. Here, my stop loss level is set at 5,500 points. So for an R bar of 1-to-1, I also set the take profit level at 5,500 points here with an exit volume of 20% of my trade size. I select the second take profit at a level of 6,000 points. I set my third take profit as well. This one is also with 20% of my trade size at 6,500 points, and in this section you can see the profit amounts. I carefully select the fourth take profit level, allocating 10% of my total entry volume with a specific amount set at $300. This approach helps to manage my risk and secure profits gradually. And I set the fifth take profit, which is the next one in my sequence, with 30% of my original entry volume and a profit target set at $400. This helps me manage my trade more effectively. In this section, when we enter the dollar amount, it automatically calculates the number of points for us, and after that, we can enter the trade. Here, the entry price level, the stop loss level, and the take profit column are all located in this section. Take profits 1, 2, 3, 5, and 4 are all listed here as you can see, and they are each set based on the specific number of points that we previously specified. This ensures clarity and consistency in our approach. In the lower section, we can manage our trades, where options such as break even for all trades, close all trades, close last, visual, position management, and finally account protector are specifically available in this section. If we have already executed trades and our trades are currently in profit, then by simply clicking on the break even all option, all of the profitable trades will be set to break even. This means that the stop loss for each trade will be automatically placed at the entry point so that the trade becomes completely risk-free and you no longer have to worry about potential losses on those positions. The next section is related to close all. If we have several trades open and want to close all of them with a single click, just by clicking on the close all option, all trades will be closed for us. The next option is close last, which starts closing positions from the most recent one. Here, I open one buy position and one sell position, and by clicking on the close last option, it will close my trades starting from the last position I opened, which is the sell, and finally the buy position. The next option is related to visual, where we can carefully review a typical risk-reward setup here. The entry point, take profit, and stop loss are all set for us in advance, so we can very easily check and analyze the risk-to-reward ratio, making sure we fully understand the potential outcomes. The entry price level for the trade is shown in gray, clearly displaying the entry price, the trade volume, and finally the risk-to-reward ratio right here for your reference. Additionally, the red level indicates the stop-loss price and ultimately the amount of loss we would incur if the price reaches the stop-loss level is specified. And in the green section, it clearly shows us the take-profit price level as well as the amount of profit that will be realized at take-profit if the price actually reaches this specific level, which of course we can very easily adjust and also review the values for whenever needed. And by clicking again on the visual option, it will be deactivated for us. By clicking on the position management option, a trade management panel will be displayed for us in the form of a box. And when we execute a trade, it will appear in this panel for us. Some information such as the ticket, entry time, trade type, trade volume, trading symbol, entry price level, stop loss level, take profit level, comment if we have added one, and finally our profit amount are all displayed here. If we have other trades as well, this panel will display all of our trades so that we can manage them here. In the management box panel, we can see the options for trailing stop, break even, partial close, and close price. By clicking on the trailing stop option, if our trade is in profit, it will move our stop loss and place it in the profit zone at a certain distance from the price. The next option is related to break-even. If a trade is in profit, by clicking on this section, our stop-loss level will be moved to the entry point, setting it at break-even, which makes our trade risk-free. The next option is partial close, which closes 50% of our trade position. And finally, there is the close option, which closes the trade when we click on it. If I want to reduce my trade size by 50% here, by clicking on the partial close option, 50% of the trade volume will be closed. And if there is no volume left to close, it will ultimately close the trade for us. By clicking again on the position management box option, it will be deactivated for us. The last option is related to Account Protector, which we can conveniently use as an effective account safeguard. Pro-form traders, as well as Forex and crypto traders in particular, can utilize this special and specifically designed tab to carefully manage their trades, maintain consistent control over their mindset, avoid entering trades based on emotions and impulses, and ultimately have complete and total control over their transactions. This panel has 7 tabs that we can use to manage our trades, which include the Volume tab, the Time tab, the Profit and Loss tab, the Symbol tab, the Trades tab, the Take Profit and Stop Loss tab, and finally, the News tab is also included here. Well, the first tab is also related to the Order Book tab, which is the section we changed at the beginning of our training because it was creating some limitations for us. In the first option, the maximum order size for a trade is set, and in this section, we can determine how much we are allowed to enter into each trade. For example, if I enter 1 lot here and I want to enter a trade with 2 lots instead, the expert advisor will automatically prevent me from entering the trade, and it will display a warning message clearly stating that the position size exceeds the set limit that has been established. However, if I set my trade size to just 1 lot, which is within the allowed limit, then the trade will be permitted. Then I can easily enter the trade. The next option relates to the maximum daily trade entry size, which we can set in this section to determine how much volume we are allowed to trade in a single day and execute our trades. For example, if I enter a volume of 1 lot here, it means that throughout the day I am only allowed to enter trades with a total volume of 1 lot. If I set this amount to 2 lots and want to enter a trade, the expert advisor will not allow me and will issue a warning telling us that we have exceeded the daily trade entry limit and will not permit the trade to be executed. Even if I try to change this volume back to 1 lot, it still will not allow me. This is because we have already entered a trade earlier, and this is the maximum volume that you can use in a single day to execute your trades. The next section relates to the number of trades we can execute in a day. Here we can specify how many trades we are allowed to enter in a single day. For example, I enter the number 3 here, which means that in 1 day we are only allowed to enter up to 3 trades. If I want to enter a trade and I have already executed more than 3 trades in a single day, I will receive a warning message notifying me that I am not allowed to enter another trade at this particular moment because I am exceeding the maximum number of trades set in this section. These rules help us maintain our trading psychology and set up our trading plan based on the right mindset so that we enter trades according to our strategy system. The next option is related to max daily sequential loss, where we can specify the exact limit for the number of daily losses. For example, if I enter the number 5 here, and if I have more than 5 consecutive losing trades, The expert advisor simply won't allow me to enter any more trades and will issue a warning saying that you are losing more than the allowed limit today, and you are therefore not permitted to enter any more trades. This feature gives us the ability to prevent consecutive losses based on our trading psychology and strategy, and it helps stop us from revenge trading in the market. The next option is related to the max daily sequential profit, where we can set a limit on the number of consecutive winning trades, and if we try to exceed this number, the expert advisor won't allow us to continue trading. This feature allows us to avoid overtrading in the market and to end our trading day according to a specific rule in order to maintain discipline. The next section is about the exact volume limit per week. We can specify the exact number of trades allowed in a week. In the section below, we can set the exact limit for the number of consecutive losses in a week, and finally, the exact limit for the number of consecutive wins in a week. The next tab is related to time, where we can specify the entry time and the exit time for trades. This tab allows us to conveniently enter trades based on a specific user-defined time frame, and also helps to prevent entering trades during periods of low volatility or low trading volume. For example, right here, I specify a particular time frame. And if we are not within this specified time frame, simply and we want to enter a trade, the expert advisor will not allow us to enter the trade and will display a maximum time limit warning. If we want to change this time frame, which means we are choosing a different period to view on our trading chart, we simply select the new time that we want to analyze. After making this adjustment, entering a trade becomes straightforward, as we can now act based on the updated information shown for the selected time frame. At the bottom section, there are options available that allow you to select your trading days, giving you the ability to specify exactly which days you want to be active for trading. In this example, the selectable trading days range from Monday to Sunday, providing flexibility to choose any or all days according to your preferences. We can select specific trading days for ourselves, and also for each individual trading day, we can set a specific and customized time frame for entering a trade. This way, the entry and exit times for our trades will always fall within this designated range, ensuring that all trades are executed within the chosen period. The next tab is related to profit and loss, where we can specifically set the maximum daily profit, maximum daily loss, maximum weekly profit, and maximum weekly loss, based on three options: percentage, points, and dollars. If we enable any of these options, this section will become active as a restriction for us, and we can then set our desired values, such as how much percentage of the volume should be considered, what specific amount of points should be selected, and finally, what exact amount should be recognized in dollars, for instance. The next tab is the symbol tab, where we can select the trading symbols and prevent trading on unauthorized symbols. The first option only pertains to the trading symbol on which we have run the expert advisor. By selecting this option, we are only allowed to trade on this symbol and are not permitted to trade on other symbols. The next option is the alt chart option, which allows trading on all the symbols listed below for us. The next option relates to Market Watch, and by selecting this option, all the symbols included in Market Watch become tradable. And the last option pertains to custom symbols, where we can add a set of symbols here and are only allowed to enter trades on those specific symbols. For example, For example, here I add the bits USDT symbol, and after that, if I want to enter a trade, the expert advisor will not allow me to open a position on the USDT symbol, at least not until I change the settings. The reason is that in the symbol section I have only added the BTC USDT symbol, and I am only allowed to trade on the symbols that I include in this section. Since only BTC USDT is listed here, the expert advisor will not allow me to open a position on the USDT symbol. However, if I also add USDT in this section, I can easily enter a trade. Be sure to pay attention to this point. In some brokers, trading symbols may have prefixes or suffixes. Be sure to pay attention to the letters included in the symbol, and after that, enter those letters in this section and add the suffixes here so that the expert advisor can recognize the trading symbol. The next tab is related to the Trades tab, where we can view various information and analyze the trading account. The first option pertains to the daily balance, where we can see the starting balance of the day. In the next section, we can review the starting balance of the week. In the two options below, we can check the amount of daily profit or loss and the amount of weekly profit or loss. In the next section, you will find the options labeled as sequential profit and sequential loss, which clearly show us the number of consecutive profits and losses that occur here. We can also see the percentage of daily drawdown as well as weekly drawdown in the section below, and based on that, we can review our trading account. By clicking on the last option, which is the Data tab, the tab that is placed here will be presented and displayed for us at the bottom, and we can, for example, easily click on and select other tabs, as well as view the account information in this section. The next tab is related to Take Profit and Stop Loss, where we can set the status of Take Profit and Stop Loss here. If I enable these options and want to enter a trade, I can set a time range for it. For example, if my trade does not have a stop loss and take profit, and I have enabled these two options, when I enter a trade, the expert issues a warning for me and tells me that I have not set a stop loss and take profit for the trade I executed. In the lower section of the interface, we can set a time range for sending the alert. If I enter a trade and haven't set a stop loss and take profit for it, I can use this section to specify a time range for it, so that within this time range an alert will be issued for me. That means I want to execute a trade without setting a stop loss or take profit for it, and I want an alert to be issued for me after 10 or 15 minutes, serving as a reminder to set my take profit and stop loss. In the next section, there is the option specifically for moving stop loss and moving take profit, whereby enabling this option, we can prevent the stop loss and take profit from being moved. In the section opposite, we can set the amount by which the stop loss and take profit can be moved, which is set to 3 by default. This means that we can set a kind of virtual limit for our trades, so that if we keep moving the stop loss or take profit, it won't allow us to move them more than that specified amount, ensuring a consistent trading strategy. Here the number 3 is set, which means that in a single trade I can set the stop loss a maximum of 3 times and the take profit a maximum of 3 times, and this value can be changed. The next tab is the News tab, where we can conveniently set a specific time range for news events. There are actually two options available here: limit before and limit after. If I enable both of these options, I can then set a custom time range in the section below. This means that by enabling the first option, news with high importance from Forex Factory will be displayed to me exactly 10 minutes before it is officially released. In the section below, by enabling this particular option, the news will also be displayed to me exactly 10 minutes after it is released, so that I am fully aware of the time window after the news and can effectively avoid entering trades during these highly volatile periods. At the bottom section, we can see the 8 major currencies of the Forex market, where we can enable or disable the news for each currency to choose whether or not it is displayed to us. At the moment, there are no news items available for today to be displayed to us here. In the lower section, by clicking on the All News option, all news will be displayed to us, and by clicking again, the news will be deactivated for us. Also, by clicking on the Last News option, if there is a previous news item, the next news will be displayed for us in this section. Well, friends, we've reached the end of this expert advisor tutorial. We'd be sincerely happy if you could share your valuable comments and thoughtful suggestions with us in the comments section. Your feedback is always appreciated.